Hey everybody, welcome to Yoga with Anadil. I am Anadil and welcome to the very first in our new series of videos, which is looking at refining our postures. So we're going to really break down and get into the finer detail to really purify some of the poses that we're in. So the first one we are looking at today is Tadasana, the mountain pose, which is the building block for many other poses, particularly standing poses, to follow it. So you can do this with or without a mat, any way you like. So when you're ready, I'll see you there in a moment. So let's begin by standing with our feet, to begin with, hip distance apart. And we're aiming for the feet to be in line with the knees. So if there's a tendency to kind of sweep the toes out or in, we're just pivoting from the hips to bring the toes, the big toes, to face forward in alignment with the knees. With the pivoting and the movement coming from your hips. And to begin with, we're just going to connect to the ground, to Mother Earth if you like, by pressing all four corners of our feet in. So we lift the toes and we focus on pressing into the four corners of our feet. So the first corner, let's pay attention to the big toe and the mound of the big toe where the major joint is. Press that into the earth, into the mound of the joint of the big toe. And then we think about the little toe and we press that into the earth as well. So keeping the mound of the big toe, we then press into the little toe joint in the mound, and we do the same on the two back points of our heels. So you may find that naturally, perhaps I'm exaggerating, but naturally perhaps we rest more on the outer edges or perhaps on the inner edges. So our work in this very first part of the refinement is to get equal in here, and then we place the toes down, spreading them as much as you're able. I like to start with the little toe and work across to the big toe, and even if they don't physically move very much, it's just that activeness, and then we lift through the arches of the feet, but relaxing the toes somewhat, just pressing them into the earth. And we notice the weight in our feet. I'm just going to turn to the side, because sometimes we might find that we are actually holding a lot of weight into the toes and balls of the feet, in which case we draw our weight back to shift into the heels a little bit more. It's almost representative of not rushing into the future, not rushing onto the next thing, but just drawing our energy, our weight back into the present. And by the same token, you might find that actually your weight sits more into the heels. This is almost representative of maybe trusting a little bit to move forward and come into the present. So once we've done a little bit of groundwork, literally, we create a bigger foundation, make our feet nice and limber for greater balance and equanimity in this foundational pose, as well as poses that we build onto it through our practice as we go on. So from here, with the toes pressed and all four corners of the feet in the earth, we gently lift through the arches of the feet. So we're drawing from the earth the energy up through the feet, through the arches of the feet. Now this isn't an intense clenching, it's just a subtle energizing. And then we lift through the kneecaps, which will help draw up the quads. So from here, you may find that the pelvis is tilting forward, or indeed back. So focusing on the tailbone, we gently draw that down so that the pelvis is nice and level as the energy draws up through the quads. Opening through the hip points, lifting through the navel, lifting through the heart, and the shoulders are open and relaxed. So the collarbones, we widen them by taking the shoulders back, and we relax through the arms. So the palms can be facing in towards the side of the body, or if you like, you can offer a little bit more surrender by opening through the palms. You might find a puffing and flaring of the chest, especially with if you do this with eyes closed, you might suddenly feel like you're really getting deep into this pose. But then we kind of lose the integrity in the spine, and even though this might feel really great in the chest, it eventually may feel a little bit compressed in the back. So we keep reminding us to be active with the tailbone moving away and down to open through the small of the back, inviting a gentle tilt in the pelvis, at the same time just keeping the spine nice and straight. So keeping that subtle effort going, we now pay attention to our inner thighs, and it's a subtle drawing back of the inner thighs in and back behind us. So if that doesn't make any sense to you, you can, if you have a yoga block, that's great. Otherwise you can use perhaps a light book to place in between your thighs. And then you actively press in against the book or your block. And it's like we want to send this book behind us. So we'll hold on to that book with our thighs, our inner thighs move against the book, rolling inward to send the block or your book behind you to better align, bring mindfulness and attention to this entire pose. Once we have this refinement, the micro attention into our mountain pose, Tadasana, we can look at the macro. So you join all of this from top to toe, and you unite it with the breath. Breathing in and out through the belly, letting that rise and fall. And with every breath in, I like to visualize that energy coming from perhaps even the core of the earth, lifting through my entire body and out through the crown of the head. So please join me in that visualization. So as you breathe in, lift the breath, the energy subtly through your entire body, and maybe you feel like the crown of the head lifting up. And as you breathe out, you ground down through the shoulders, you ground down through the tailbone, ground down through the heels and all four corners of the feet. And you breathe as you stand your full height in your mountain pose. And if you like, you can even try to close your eyes and immediately the weight, the balance in our body and so in our breath changes. So work to settle this. You may feel like a little bit like a pendulum that's trying to find its center of gravity to stillness. And maybe in time you find that center, and you'll notice the feet will continue to work to keep you centered. And you breathe, keep raising on up through the breath, energizing to the top of your head and grounding down as you breathe out. If this feels really uncomfortable for you to have your eyes closed, or you feel perhaps you're not quite safe in doing that, then you can just blink open the eyes and keep a low gaze, and maybe look out just ahead of you to the natural drop of your gaze to something on the ground, maybe a knot in the floorboard, or a fleck in the carpet, or blade in the grass, wherever you're doing this. Just find that little something to focus on with your eyes. This is called the drishti, is the focal point for this posture. It will anchor you and help you to keep focused and steady and balanced. So whether you have your eyes closed or whether you have your focus rested on something in front of you, the deal is the same. Feel like you're imprinting into the earth with the four corners of the feet. As you breathe in, you become your full height. And actually you feel like you're 10 feet tall. So lift the chin slightly, keep the throat nice and open for the breath to travel through. As you continue to breathe, you may feel like this mountain is actually 1,000 feet tall. You may feel that your mountain is tens of thousands of feet tall, still grounded, maybe through the earth, stable through to the center. As you lift, maybe with a visualization that your mountain is majestically sitting above the clouds. The crown of the head lifting above the clouds. So feel your full height, feel your full power and your stability. And know that nothing can shake you, nothing can move you in this moment unless you want it to be. Keeping the toes gently active, lifting the arches of the feet, energizing through the legs, leveling through the hips, rising through the heart, down with the shoulders and up through the crown of the head, with the breath flowing and the awareness of your groundedness and your height. This is your mountain pose, Tadasana. And from here, from this firm, strong foundation, we can move on to other postures with stability, strength, and confidence. I hope we will meet again for more refinement pose videos. Thank you.